Do you remember those heady days when Brexit was going to ensure a sovereignty free for all and prosperity on steroids? Well, it's all changed now. Even the most fervent Brexit supporters are now coming on to the other side. They're crossing the light into the other side. Michael Gove, one of the principal cheerleaders of Brexit, his former wife, Sarah Vine, poisonous pen of the Daily Mail, was on Newsnight, and it seems that she's had a complete change and is now standing apart from what she calls the hardliners, Priti Patel and Jacob Rees-Mogg, who are screaming that Brexit betrayal.
Conservatives, some Conservatives, Sarah Vine, are already calling this a Brexit betrayal. Would it be?
Which Conservatives?
Priti Patel, Andrew Griffiths.
Well, there you go. I mean,
why do you say there you go? Go on.
I mean,
are they
because
not
they're
real
very
Conservatives?
hard. Well, they're very hard-line Brexiteers. Right. I mean, I think anyone who has thought about Brexit would not say it was a universal success the way it was conducted. Perhaps the deal that we have is not perfect.
But she's on the side of moderacy and even goes as far as admitting that Brexit was botched. I would, though, say that it's a convenient excuse for somebody who supported Brexit to say it didn't work out because it was botched. I mean, this is actually nonsense. Brexit was never going to work out. It wasn't botched. Brexit botched Britain. That's the actual truth. So perhaps when Sarah Vine admits that, then I might have more to celebrate about what she's saying. She largely has felt sorry for herself because of her husband's decision to stand up and fight for Brexit, and she embraced that reality. I have to say that I would not have done what Sarah Vine had done, because I was always aware that Brexit was a disaster. From beginning to end, there was nothing ever going to be good about Brexit.
The UK may accept alignment with EU rules in a number of areas. The reports have been met with anger from Brexiteers who are already labelling it a Brexit betrayal. Here is Bloomberg's Ellen Milligan.
It's long been the EU's position that if the UK wants to have an agreement to reduce checks and paperwork for agri-food products passing between the EU and the UK, that agreement would have to fall under the European Court of Justice's jurisdiction. So if there was any breach to that agreement or any cases brought by businesses or member states over the terms of this specific agreement, that it would be the EU's court which would rule on those.
Is this true? Do you think the UK is close to signing a deal with the EU?
It looks like there may be more on the table around, food security, around energy potentially opening up more so than the Defence and Security Pact, which has previously been briefed out. I mean, I would just say there was just a lot of comment there about the ECJ having to rule over things. That's not quite true. There are other options that are available. The Swiss, who love sovereignty, just struck a deal with the EU where they're going to have an alternative mechanism which isn't under ECJ jurisdiction. We have our own TCA, our own agreement with them, which offers an alternative process.
So are those options under consideration?
Well, I mean, it's certainly something we're pushing for. So, I think there are other options. I hope so.
Okay. Conservatives, some Conservatives, Sarah Vine, are already calling this a Brexit betrayal. Would it be?
Which Conservatives?
Priti Patel, Andrew Griffiths.
Well, there you go. I mean,
why do you say there you go? Go on.
I mean,
are they
because
not real
they're very
Conservatives?
hard. Well, they're very hard-line Brexiteers. Right. I mean, I think anyone who has thought about Brexit would not say it was a universal success the way it was conducted. Perhaps the deal that we have is not. There should, it's a process, and we should be, we should not cut off our nose to spite our face. If these are things that will help British business, if they are not, egregious, then I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be talked about and discussed. And if in a region, we shouldn't be stubborn about it. And I think hardline Brexiteers need to be careful about that, because the process itself was very badly botched. I think we all admit that it didn't go very well. It didn't go as it was supposed to go. It didn't go as the people who ran the campaign and wanted to win wanted it to go. It was sort of hijacked politically, went all blur. So I think, you know, there's room for improvement, definitely. And I think for Starmer, I think what's quite interesting for him is that this could be a bit of a win for him, because I think a lot of, and it's quite a middle class issue, but a lot of middle class Remainers, you know, who might not necessarily have been natural Labour voters, I think they did sort of see in him potentially somebody who might mitigate a bit what they perhaps saw as the downsides of Brexit. So I think the important thing is to have a sensible dialogue, to not be too entrenched, to be open-minded, to move forward.
I can see you nodding in agreement.
Well,
although you did just take a
right.
deep breath then.
Sorry.
I was saying my deep yoga breathing there, but I mean, it's a great release to hear that, because I mean, let's just forget the passions of Brexit. There are three great trading blocs in the world: America, China and the EU, and any government in power has problems with all of them. We have to be grown up, I think, about the EU. The EU is going to be really important to Britain's future growth, for everybody in this country, for our small businesses who have suffered so much under Brexit and under the deal that was arranged, but for the country at large. And I just hope that there isn't going to be the kind of very destructive tribal comments about what's going to happen that will deflate.
But of course there is.
Well, Victoria, I think we have to just get bigger than that somehow, and I think that's this is a challenge for Starmer. He's got to provide real leadership here with a vision for why we're doing it.
If Trump goes really Tonto, which you know he could well do. I mean,
he might already have gone
absolutely connected. Right?
We need to be connected to Europe. Yeah, we can't be isolated.
And it's worth saying it isn't just Remainers that have an openness. I mean, we're doing a big project at the moment, actually talking to a lot of Labour voters who are now considering reform. And while it is narrow, there is an openness to a closer relationship, so long as people feel it isn't refighting the referendum and that it's focused on the practical changes people want around things like cost of living and defence and security.
I mean, we don't need Priti Patel. Just, it's so utterly boring. Doesn't she get bored with this stuff herself? Let's just, you know, we're out of the EU. We've accepted that. Let's get the best that we can get without losing whatever the freedoms were that we've got. So
but are we going to see the Daily Mail espousing what you have just said? Are we going to see the Daily Express, etc., etc.?
Yeah, I say what I want to say on the Daily Mail. I know you do.
It's not, that's why you're here.
But yeah, there will be a range of views, and that is correct. That is absolutely okay for there to be a range of views.
Is there any political risk for Keir Starmer in terms of some of his voters?
Well, I think the risk you speak about, the threats and of sort of potential misinformation or exaggeration around a potential closer relationship is the big threat. And I think what we've seen is actually the thing that has changed it is precisely what, Anthony, you hinted at, this global situation, you know, tariffs from the West, the threat of Putin in particular in the East, and also now China. You know, we've just seen what happened in Scunthorpe and how, you know, they are acting in their best interest. That actually, for the securitization of Britain, for our own safety and stability in a world that is so insecure and unstable, that closer relationship with Europe is a natural one, so long as we don't go overboard and try and refight the referendum.
Right, but JD Vance, as we know, was talking up the prospects of a free trade deal with the UK, he spoke to Unheard in America. Might the Americans not be irritated if the UK starts to move closer to the EU?
It's an interesting question.
Especially when JD Vance is...
Sorry, who cares?
Well, the UK cares, doesn't it?
No, but the point is, you know, you can't. I mean, Trump is saying, "Oh, I like the UK." So, I mean, sorry, it's not an emotional thing. What does it matter? You don't have to like us. You just have to do a deal with us. Why is it? Why are they so childish? These men. I mean, you know, the Vance's conversation is the same. It's all emotional. I thought that they were supposed to be, you know, sensible, grown-up men, but they're not.
Emotional about people who have no emotion for the people whose lives they're damaging. Exactly. Look at Sudan. Sudan's had a huge conference today, totally obliterated because more Trump nonsense, more Trump ego.
Actually, not obliterated on the BBC or other outlets. It was the lead story.
It's worth saying that things have changed for them as well. look, they have just had a disaster on the American economy, and they're actually looking for deals right now. So I think in a way that 2 weeks ago they maybe felt they were in a stronger position, I actually think that they're quite keen to strike deals. So I think we're probably in a good place.
What percentage of our commerce,
well, our biggest trading partner is the European Union.
Exactly. I think it's about, I think America is about, I could be wrong, and I'm sure your listeners, viewers will correct, I think it's about 15%, something around that. So, you know,
it's important. We have to manage our relationship with the United States. But the good, you know, the kind of reliable relationship that we can have with reliable people, with good relationships with good people, is with the European Union.
Look what they did to Zelensky. Come on,
indeed.
Look at how they treat
and
people who are
feel
supposed
that
to be
outrage,
who are supposed to be their allies, you know, who they have undertaken to work with.
So a big theme of this is grown-up leaders, people who have principle, people who are good at their job and good human beings. And if we have in these key positions, notably the President of the United States, somebody who acts like a child, who's so capricious, so unpredictable, then the whole thing, not just the country, I think we'll see the Trump presidency as the turning point in the decline of America, where it loses its respect internationally, its moral authority. Without moral authority globally, America is, the dream is over.
Is it? Do they care? You asked, why should we care? Do they care if the rest of the world doesn't think they're morally authoritative anymore?
I think they'll care where they see the consequences and where they see the kickback from the tariffs. I think they'll care. Right. Not yet.
And I think they'll care if the cost of living spikes in America.
Oh yeah, well the American public absolutely will.
Yes, absolutely.
I think they'll care if Trump doesn't get his state visit.
Well, there's no question that is going to be withdrawn, unless you're telling me something.
No. I know.
Okay.
No.
Right. Okay. Who is most useful to the UK, the EU or the US?
I think they're both. I think that's the big thing about them. That's the big thing, both.
Okay.
And they've both got to be made to work together. And that's why Starmer's being a grown-up about it, swallowing his pride, as is the King, with that invitation.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that Trump and the King are most natural bedfellows. I mean, do they have anything in common?
I don't know. You tell us. What do you think?
Dangerous territory, this feels.
They both want the best for their countries.
Big houses.
Yeah.
The King likes to read.
Okay. What point are you making, Sarah Vine?
Not making any point.
China, Australia, every single one of our allies, the Bank of England, the IFS, the IMF, the CBI, 5 former NATO Secretary-Generals, the Chief Exec of the NHS, and most of the leaders of the trade unions in Britain all say that you, Boris and Nigel are wrong. Why should the public trust you over them?
I'm not asking the public to trust me. I'm asking the public to trust themselves. I'm asking the British public to take back control of our destiny from those organisations which are distant, unaccountable, elitist and don't have their own interests at heart.
Elitist.
Absolutely.
The Lord High Chancellor, conspiracy of elites. It sounds like something like Wolf Hall.
Well, I haven't seen Wolf Hall, but the one thing that I would say is that the people who are backing the Remain campaign are people who've done very well, thank you, out of the European Union, and the people increasingly, absolutely. The people who are arguing that we should get out are concerned to ensure that the working people of this country at last get a fair deal. I think the people in this country have had enough of experts with organisations from acronyms
the people of this country have had enough of experts.
From organisations with acronyms saying that they know what is best and getting it consistently wrong. Because these people are the same ones who've got consistently wrong.
This is proper Trump politics, isn't it?
No, it's actually a faith in the...
Oxbridge Trump.
Well, it's a faith, Faisal, in the British people to make the right decision.
Blind faith. I don't think its authorities say the figure's misleading. The Treasury Select Committee, containing Brexiteers, says it's deeply problematic. One of your own backbench colleagues, a Conservative MP who's campaigning to leave as a respected doctor, refuses to hand out leaflets because he says you're treating the public as fools.
October is my favourite month in the garden. You can see we've got the autumn sun and this beautiful shimmery cobweb in the morning. And excuse me?
Yes?
Who's that person in my garden? Who are you?
I'm the government chief whip.
It's the government chief whip in my garden. Did anyone give you permission?
No. I thought I'd ramble.
Well, I think while the chief whip is here, we might have to ask him a searching question, don't you? Tell me your favourite scene, Mr. Gove, from Game of Thrones.
My favourite character in Game of Thrones is undoubtedly Tyrion Lannister. And the moment I love most is when he leads what's apparently a hopeless charge of his troops in defence of King's Landing against the forces of Stannis Baratheon. And you see there that this misshapen dwarf, reviled throughout his life, thought in the eyes of some to be a toxic figure, can at last rally a small band of loyal followers. And at the last moment, he suddenly hears the noise of the relief column coming. And it's his father, a father with whom he has the most complicated of relationships, who then comes at the head of a relief army in order to defeat the Baratheon forces. And at that point, I'm reminded of the words of Winston Churchill. Never, never, never surrender.